In 2008, Nicola Barbatelli, an art history professor, discovered an old painting that raised questions in the art world.
The first thing I noticed, as soon as I saw it, was that it had a soul.
He's enigmatic. The beard, the look in his eyes, he's very special, very unique.
This was the start of a widespread investigation throughout Europe. The portrait of a strangely familiar-looking man aroused the experts' curiosity.
I immediately thought that it was a portrait of Leonardo.
Through this investigation, we travel into the past, back to Renaissance Italy. Could this painting have been made by Leonardo da Vinci? Have we finally discovered the painter's true face?
One morning in 2008, an art collector contacted me to examine his collection of paintings. As an art historian specializing in historic paintings, I immediately decided to go to his home in Salerno to look closely at his collection. Nicola Barbatelli. There were about 100 paintings in the collection. Some works were mediocre, and others quite interesting. At the end of my visit, the collector asked me to look at one particular painting. He showed me a portrait wrapped in a fleece blanket. I'll never forget that moment. He said, "Look at this little painting. It's a painting I want to auction off. Meet Galileo." "What do you mean, Galileo?" I said. "It's Leonardo." I immediately thought it was a portrait by Leonardo because the iconography was found in a similar painting in the Uffizi Gallery.
This painting, exhibited in Florence's biggest museum, the Uffizi Gallery, was considered for many years to be a self-portrait of Leonardo da Vinci. But in 1938, an expertise proved that it had been painted in the 17th century, 100 years after the artist's death. Therefore, it was a fake. How could the striking resemblance between the two paintings be explained? Could this portrait be the original one, copied in the Uffizi? Could it be the authentic self-portrait by Leonardo da Vinci, believed to have disappeared forever? A great deal was at stake here. There are only a mere 15 paintings by the Tuscan master, and nobody knows exactly what the artist looked like. The potential discovery of a self-portrait by Leonardo da Vinci immediately raised the issue of dating. Nicola Barbatelli goes to see Giancarlo Napoli, a restorer specialized in expertizing works of art.
In my life, I have been fortunate to have seen a large number of paintings because I have always worked for major museums and collections. My instinct and my eye have never let me down. However, in the case of this painting, when I saw it, since it was in such good condition, I thought it could have been one of those copies made in the 19th century. So my immediate impression when I saw it was that it was too beautiful to be from the 16th century.
Leonardo da Vinci was born in 1452 and died in 1519. The Lucan portrait depicts a man of approximately 50 years old. If it represents the artist, it would have to have been painted in the early 16th century, in the city where Leonardo lived, Florence. In the 15th century, Florence was the city where an art revolution was brewing, in painting, sculpture, and architecture. It would later become known as the Renaissance.
For the 15th century, Florence had an extremely high literacy rate, and I should also say a very high rate of numeracy, because of the fact that the Florentines were the great merchants of the Middle Ages. You had these great first of all, wool merchants, and then secondly, the bankers. And so that then really becomes the economic precondition for the cultural efflorescence of the 15th century in Florence. The Florentines had a republic. They felt that they were unique in Italy, at least, in having a kind of self-government. And so if they looked for historical precedents for that kind of government, of course, they would look to the Roman Republic. And so their whole idea of having a renaissance was to bring back the glories of ancient Greece and ancient Rome.
The Medici dynasty was at the head of the Florentine Republic. They were bankers and art lovers. First Cosimo, then the man nicknamed by his contemporaries Lorenzo the Magnificent. Lorenzo was passionate about architecture and poetry. He contributed to the protection and promotion of many artists, including Botticelli, Michelangelo, or Leonardo da Vinci. One of the most important workshops in Florence was that of the sculptor and painter Andrea Verrocchio, a protégé of the Medicis.
If you wanted to be an artist as a young man, say when you were 12, 13, 14, you didn't go to art school. What you did is went into a bodega, a workshop, and you became an apprentice. There was an apprenticeship system, and you went into the workshop of an established painter, goldsmith, sculptor, and in that workshop you would learn all of the secrets of the trade. You would learn how to grind pigment, you would learn how to apply paint, you would learn silver point, you would learn draftsmanship, you would learn ultimately things like painting with tempera, and then finally, by the end of the 1400s at least, how to paint in oil.
Young Leonardo da Vinci began his apprenticeship at the Verrocchio Bottega in 1467 at the age of 15. He started off drawing and painting, but also learned sculpture, architecture, and mechanical arts.
He remained with Verrocchio well into his 20s. And Verrocchio, I think, spotted Leonardo very early, recognized his talents, nurtured them. And so we see the two of them in the 1470s working in tandem, working in partnership together